Hey guys, the episode you're watching is actually a stock footage episode, therefore some of the shameless plugs aren't actually correct on it. Therefore, go to facebook.com/musicninjamat, that is our main hub for everything. Go over to Twitter and go to @musicninjamat, use the hashtag #comiccomments and ask us a question and we'll give you a shout out. And go into the description below. There are details of all our competitions there and the playlist for comic comments so you can see any episode that you like. Hello guys and welcome to another edition of Comic Comments. I am Matt.
And I'm Pete.
And today we're doing a story that I had never even heard of until I picked it up. And that is The Flash Rebirth, written by Jeff Johns and drawn by Ethan Van Sciver, one of the two. Barry dies in Crisis on Infinite Earths. He returns in Final Crisis, and this is his rebirth. This is Barry Allen coming back. It starts off almost like every episode of CSI does, where we just see two guys in the police lab are being murdered by a mysterious killer.
It's not really that mysterious though, because it's like a spear with a lightning bolt on the end.
It's mysterious. This mysterious killer collects chemicals up. You can assume they're the chemicals that create the Flash. A lightning bolt comes down. Whoever this mysterious guy is, he is the one that brought Barry back. There's a lot of parades going on and everybody's celebrating because the Flash is back. We see Jay Garrick, we see Kid Flash, there's kind of like a Flash family going on in this book, which I did like. And Wally West, who, after reading this, I actually do quite like Wally West.
Yeah.
I was quite surprised with that. Wally West's children, who are Jay and Irie, and they have superpowers in their own right. Irie can walk through objects, and Jay has super strength. I liked this as well, the fact that you see Wally West with Red Arrow and Nightwing, and they're kind of talking about the people that trained them, and they're saying Wally was lucky because the Flash is awesome. And we start to see people's reactions to Flash coming back. So Kid Flash really doesn't care at all, whereas Jay's extremely happy, and a lot of people basically are saying Barry's worshipped. He is a hero and he has inspired so many people. Barry's because obviously he's been gone for so long that he's missed out on a lot, so he's just trying to catch up and get to know what he's missed out on, technology-wise and history-wise.
Yeah, the police chief asking if he can do forensics for them, and he says he's not up to date on any of the modern technology, so he wouldn't be much use. And
Hal Jordan's not an important part of the book, but he does help Barry a lot in this. We see these two kids who find the Black Flash, but he's like a skeleton, and Black Flash is basically the angel of death. Anytime a speedster was going to be
kills,
and put into the Speed Force, he would be there. We get a look into Barry's past, so we see the day his mother died. We see an awful lot of him and Iris first meeting, and a lot of that kind of backstory, which I always like that, when rather than having a big origin at the start, it's more made up
just
of flashbacks.
Yeah,
because that was something we liked in Suicide Squad. So we see Savitar, who has become free from the Speed Force, because Barry kind of leaves a door open when he came back, and Barry touches Savitar and he just turns into dust and dies, and you're kind of like, holy shit. One of the more confusing parts is you see, what do they call it? Gorilla City, and they've got cave drawings of all the different speedsters, and just as events are happening, you just see them adding markings to it. I can only assume it's got connections with Grodd.
Well, yeah, they're sentient gorillas, so...
Yeah.
Did I mean sentient? I'm pretty sure.
And when Savitar is killed, all the other speedsters have like seizures and they all feel it to different capacities, but Barry doesn't feel anything. And then we see this girl called Christina, who is also a speedster, and she like worships Savitar. She goes after Barry, and I believe he touches her and she dies as well. So
yeah.
Becoming a running theme that Barry's just killing people when he touches them. Another piece of flashback we see is just like Barry at work and the fact that he's really slow at his job, and that's a nice kind of little joke, I guess.
Somebody described him as the slowest man alive.
We learn the fact that he killed Professor Zoom by snapping his neck. Barry's dad, who went to prison for Barry's mum's murder, he actually died in prison. And then it's kind of established that Barry has become the new Black Flash, which I actually thought they'd do more with in this.
Yeah,
it was kind of a cool idea.
Very long.
The Justice League can actually turn up to help Barry. We have this kind of subplot going on where you have Johnny Speed and Liberty Bell, their daughter Jess, and she's kind of trying to figure out her dad's speed formula, and then she comes into play a little bit later. But yeah, the Justice League have contained Flash, but Flash can feel the Speed Force trying to drag all the other speedsters in. This scares him, and so he decides to run off. I didn't quite understand how he managed to blast off the Black Flash thing.
He ran really fast. That seems to be his go-to. So
yeah, seems that way.
I think he ran up because he generates his own speed force. He generated enough to blast off the black and go back to red.
Because this is another interesting thing that we find out is that Barry didn't just tap into the Speed Force when he became the Flash. He created the Speed Force, which is cool, and it makes Barry like the Flash. And then he actually runs into the Speed Force. He's kind of freaking out at this point, and we get to see little glimpses of everything from his life. And then he meets Max Mercury and Johnny Speed. Johnny Speed again ends up dying the same way as everybody else did. And then they bump into the Reverse Flash. And Reverse Flash obviously was our mysterious murderer at the start. He gave himself his powers because it was kind of like he made a negative speed force, which is affecting the main one. It's affecting Barry's. And he made Barry into this weapon that was going to just, like, Reverse Flash's plan was he was just going to touch all the other speedsters and Barry was going to just kill everybody. Because Reverse Flash can't kill Barry, because
then Reverse Flash will never get his powers in the future.
And he'll never get his Speed Force, which he seems to be enjoying.
So he just wants to cause Barry as much pain as possible without actually killing him.
Yeah. Also then Wally West decides that he's going to come into the Speed Force and get Barry back out. And they talk about this idea of everybody has their own lightning rod. Like Barry has Iris and Wally has his wife. And that's how they get out of the Speed Force. It's like an anchor that just keeps them together. And yeah, Reverse Flash is able to show up at Wally West's house and he affects the twins, the son and daughter. Another thing that we find out about the Speed Force is the fact that it causes anyone who comes into contact with it to not age, which is why like Iris hasn't aged and Barry hasn't aged. Another cool thing is this explains as well why Barry and Reverse Flash would be fighting so far into the future.
Kid Flash and Jay show up and they just kick the shit out of Reverse Flash.
It's cool because I did enjoy the fight scene at the end. It was a decent fight scene. Wally finds Barry, and then we see that Barry is actually able to touch people again, and Wally's going to help him out the Speed Force, and they are able to take Max Mercury with them as well, and they turn up to join in the fight. And it's cool because Barry basically says, I'm back, but this time on my own terms. So this time he's come back by himself rather than Thorne bringing him back. And then Barry kind of says that, like, his weakness is not being able to slow down. And he said, like, he always feels alone a lot of the time. And he just sort of says that's like his kryptonite. But he then says he realises that he's not alone because he's got this whole Flash family with him now. I mean, that was one of the things when I was flicking through this book that really attracted me to it, was the idea that you have this kind of Flash family in the same way you have the Captain Marvel family in old Shazam books, which was stupid, but it made no sense. The kids, like I said, were affected by Professor Zoom, and Liberty Bell, who's Jess, the daughter of Johnny Storm and the old Liberty Bell, I guess. She turns up and she's able to save Irie, and she says Irie's part of the Speed Force now.
Yeah, doesn't Irie... Because the twins, they split the Speed Force, like, between them, which is why they have different powers, but then I think Irie takes it from her brother, so she gets the full Speed Force as well,
yeah,
and she becomes a speedster.
He loses his powers, and he gets the nickname the Turtle, because obviously he's much lower than everybody else. So then the New Impulse, who's Wally's daughter, and Liberty Bell, they join the fight as well, and everyone gets new costumes.
Because they run really fast and manipulate the Speed Force.
Yeah. I think Wally's costume is so much cooler.
It really is.
Yeah. We start to learn that every bad thing that's ever happened to Barry was Professor Zoom. Like, him falling down the stairs and breaking his arm. Obviously, his mother's death, that's the big revelation, is that Zoom killed Barry's mother, which we already knew.
Yeah.
But still, it was cool that it's in this book, and that's when Barry finds out. And, like, yeah, Zoom, like, set fire to Barry's first house, and, like, all this terrible stuff was all Zoom. And then Zoom decides that the last thing he can do is go back and kill Iris and just stop Barry from ever falling in love with her.
Because Iris was the only way that Barry, could get out of the Speed Force.
Because it's his lightning rod. I like this. This book has a lot of little pieces that the more and more you read, the more they start to fit together. And it's a very it is a comfortable plot. But reading the first half of this with no real idea what's going on was a mindfuck.
Yeah.
Wally helps Barry catch up with Zoom, because the idea is it's a big deal that Zoom can travel in time without the use of the cosmic treadmill, because the cosmic treadmill helps them figure out exactly where they're going. Rather than just running and appearing somewhere in time, they can control where they're going. They're able to stop Reverse Flash, obviously, from killing Iris. And then Zoom says one of their children will destroy their lives. I thought that was just quite a cool little ominous.
Yeah.
And I suppose it must come into play, because this is from...
a while ago.
Yeah, like 2008, 2009.
So that's probably already happened, we just don't know.
They bring Reverse Flash back, and then they're able to trap him in the same machine they were using to keep Barry trapped when he was Black Flash.
They cut Zoom off from his negative Speed Force, so as long as he doesn't run and then generate it again, he's cut off from it. He can't go fast. He can't really do anything.
And then we see a nice big parade, you know, at the end for the Flash and the Flash family. And we start to see, like, all the bad guys plotting, which I like. I like the fact that Captain Cold even says they have a contingency plan, which is in case the Flash returns, break glass. And you just see everybody's like, right, the Flash is back, so all the rogues need to get their shit together. I thought that was cool. This feels really like cinema-esque, does the final fight and everything. And then obviously we just see like the cool down, we see a little Justice League of America party that Flash attends, and his final line is, sorry I'm late. And that's a theme throughout the book as well, is it's just, even though he's the fastest man alive, he's late for everything. In this particular book as well, there's a lot of notes that just help you to understand the story, where the story came from, and then there's some art in the back as well, which is always nice. What was your first reaction after reading this?
First, I was confused. There's a lot happening in the story, but I liked it. It wasn't the best thing I've read, but it's still worth reading.
Yeah, it's a much bigger story than I first thought, because obviously it is the return of Barry Allen after, 23 years of being dead?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. For me, I enjoyed the second half of this a lot more than the first. It took a while to get into it, because this, as well, is a nice lead-up point to Flashpoint. This is kind of, I guess, an important moment in the Flash history. Although it doesn't feel as epic as I think it should. This is supposed to be like, wow, this is Barry Allen coming back, this is a big deal.
I think it's just because it took too long to get going, it doesn't quite hit you.
Yeah, it doesn't feel, it's still a good story, it's a fun read. It's like I said, it starts off being not so fun because it's confusing, but you do get all your answers towards the end. So it's like I said, second half is preferred. Yeah, I'd say I'd recommend it, especially if you are a fan of The Flash and you're planning to read stuff like Flashpoint or whatever, or if you've read Flashpoint and you want to go back and read this. Would you recommend it, or...?
Yeah, I would. I quite enjoyed it, so...
Because we're both rapidly becoming bigger Flash fans, and we're just looking for those greater Flash stories.
I don't want this to be as good as it gets for Flash,
Yeah. I don't think it is. I think
there's probably bigger stories.
Yeah. But it's one thing this story does do is it just highlights what a big deal the Flash is. Before I really got into comics, the Flash was always kind of like one of those characters you were like, ha, you're the Flash.
Yeah, he can just run fast.
Yeah. But you just delve into the fact that he's a lot more than that. And yeah, how significant he is. He launched the Silver Age, and he's just cool. Barry Allen is definitely my favourite Flash, though.
Yeah, same. Now, Wally West has a better outfit, uniform.
Yeah, true. And Wally's not as bad as I first thought. Anyway, guys, that will be it for this one. Don't forget that we are still pushing competitions. We just need you to help share the videos out, and we need to get those views and everything up. The more that sort of reaction that we're getting from watchers and everything, the more we can start to put back into the show, which would be nice. Don't forget to give this a like if you enjoyed, subscribe, leave us a comment, and just give us your thoughts on The Flash Rebirth. So we'll see you in the next one. I've been Matt.
I've been Pete.
And bye from both of us.